Ika-5 po ng Setyembre, ika-175 araw ng ating pagkaka-quarantine at isa na naman pong Sabado na imbag na bigat sa ating pong mga kaibigan sa Hilagang Luzon at of course maayong buntag doon po naman sa ating mga kaibigan dyan po sa gawing Timog naman. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Ako, alam niyo po, kapag talagang ang aksyon ay wala sa loob ng basketball court, at ika nga, wala tayong mga laro, nalilipat ang aksyon sa labas ng mga palaruan, mga kaibigan. Ha? Kaya po, patuloy na naglalagablab ang balita tungkol dyan sa tinatawag at tinaguriang Sorsogon Bubble. Ang pinaka-latest po, mga kaibigan, nag-resign na po ang head coach ng University of Santo Tomas, si Coach Aldin Ayo. Kagabi po lumabas yung balitang yan. At talaga namang ika nga ang bilis ng takbo ng mga balita. Kaya mamaya po tayo makikipagkamustahan tungkol dyan sa issue na yan. At marami pang iba ngayong araw pong ito ng Sabado dito po sa Power and Play. Hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Lou. Magandang umaga po muli sa lahat ng ating mga kaibigan na nakikinig sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM sa buong Pilipinas. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Sana ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. Nung isang araw, bumaba lang ating mga kaso ng COVID. Hindi naman bumaba, pero sa wakas, nabasag natin yung 2,000 bilang. Bumaba tayo sa 2,000. Kahit papaano, improvement yan. Pero kahapon po, 3,000 na naman, mahigit 3,700. Ang dami ng ating mga kaso. So, patuloy po tayo mag-iingat, mga kapatid. Ang dami ko nung nakikilala na talaga namang tinatamaan at hirap na hirap po dito sa sakit na to. Kaya wag po tayong magpapabaya. Patuloy tayong maghugas ng kamay, magsuot ng face mask at ng protective face shield. At of course, yung ating pong social distancing. Wag natin pong kakalimutan yan kahit na tayo po'y nagbalik na sa ating mga hanap buhay, sa ating trabaho, kung tayo po'y nakikipagkita na sa ating mga kamag-anak, mag-iingat pa rin po tayo. Kamusta po sa lahat ng ating mga nakikinig din at nanonood sa pamamagitan ng 1PH Channel 1 on Signal TV. Good morning everyone, and of course, sa lahat po ng nasa live stream natin sa Facebook Live ng Power and Play with Noli Iyala, and of course ng Radyo 5 92.3. At of course, dun po sa mga nanonood sa atin sa the Noli Iyala YouTube channel. Again, you can find me at Noli Iyala. Simple lamang po yan on Twitter and on Instagram. Ang dami natin pag-uusapan ngayon. Of course, ang dami pa rin pong mga bali-balita tungkol sa mga iba't ibang nangyayari ngayon sa mundo ng palakasan. Yung pong NBA, naku, pambihira ang nangyayari dyan, lalong-lalo na sa NBA playoffs. Nakita natin kahapon yung season saving, malamang season saving na 3-point shot. Opo kasi kung natalo sila kahapon, tapos na sila Mahirap bumalik sa 0-3. Pero yung 3-point shot ng isang manlalaro na hindi inaasahan, hindi po OG1 Kanobi to OG Anunoby ng Toronto Raptors, pumukol ng 3 with 0.5 seconds remaining at nanalo po ang Toronto sa Boston para po maiwasan yung 3-0 hole. And that could have been a big season-saving shot. Ang tanong na lamang kung masasamantala ito ng Toronto patungo sa Game 4 bukas. Of course, nakikita rin natin ngayon pong araw na to, yung league-leading Milwaukee Bucks na buong taon, ito po ang namamayagpag. In fact, they lead the league in offense, they lead the league in defense, yung pong point differential. Sila ang pinakamalaki na kalamangan sa kasaysayan ng NBA. Ganun po kagaling yan noong regular season. Ngayon po ay naghihingalo. Lumalaban para sa kanilang buhay. They are down 0-2 against a scrappy and a very well-coached Miami Heat team. At sa kasalukuyan po ay naglalaban sa game number 3 ang Milwaukee at ang Miami Heat. Tayo po'y mag-update sa inyo maya-maya. And of course, nakita natin yung spectacular Game 7s noong pong first round, especially that block shot ni James Harden laban sa Oklahoma OKC Thunder. Yung pong nasapal niya si Dortz Kaya po ang Houston ay nakapasok sa semifinals na ngayon at ang kanilang makakatagpo mamaya ay ang Los Angeles Lakers. Yung LA Boys naghihintay na ng kanilang mga kalaban. Of course, nagsimula na rin ng LA Clippers kahapon, tinambakan ng Denver Nuggets. So ang dami pong aksyon na nangyayari sa NBA at napakaganda na antabayanan po ito at ang mga developments. Inaabangan din po natin today yung pong laro ng ating golfer na si Yuka Saso. Alam naman po ninyo si Yuka Saso last week ay nagwagi doon po sa Nitori Ladies Open kung saan, ito mga kapatid nanalo si Yuka Saso, siguro hindi kayo maniniwala nito, nanalo po siya ng 18 million yen. Katumbas po yan ng halos 9 na milyong piso, mga kapatid. At ang kabuuan pong panalo na ni Yuka Saso, dyan po sa Japan LPGA, yung Ladies Professional Golf Association, ay meron na po siyang kabuuang 59 million yen. Halos 27 milyong piso na po, mga kapatid. 27 million na po. Halos mahigit kalahating milyong dolyares na po ang kanyang napapanalunan sa kanyang unang paglalaro lamang dyan sa JLPGA. So aabangan po natin kasi ngayon, lumalaban po siya dun sa tinatawag na Golf 5 Ladies Tournament dyan po sa Honshu, Japan. Kahapon po, nagsimula na yung torneo. Siya po ay nagkaroon ng score na 1 under at siya po ay 6 strokes, 6 shots behind dun sa leader. 3 round lang po itong Golf 5 Ladies Tournament at ito po ang second day. This is yung tinatawag nilang moving day. Tingnan natin kung makaka-adjust si Yuka. Maganda yung kanyang back nine. Nagkaroon siya ng eagle on the hole number 10 pero nagpar na siya the whole way. Kaya po hindi masyado siyang nakahabol dahil ang sama ng kanyang simula. So pagdasal po natin ang ating kababayang si Yuka Saso na ngayon po ay lumalaban po. Alright, pero yan lang po lahat ng mga kwento yan. Mamaya makakasama din natin si Mo Tautuaa at saka si Matthew Wright. Abangan niyo po yung ating interview with Mo Tautuaa ng San Miguel Beermen at si Matthew Wright ng Phoenix Pulse. Mula sa ABL, papunta sa PBA, kinuwento nila ang kanilang naging biyahe, yung kanilang paglalakbay patungo sa kanilang career. Alright, at mamaya rin po, makakasama naman natin ang Philippines fastest woman. Hindi na po si Lydia de Vega. Yung pong record ni Lydia de Vega ay nabasag na ni Kristina Knott. Kristina Knott, mga kaibigan, isang Phil-American, nabasag yung 33-year-old record ni Lydia de Vega at siya po ay ating makakapanayam mamaya. Pakinggan ninyo kung ito ba ay nasa plano niya. Of course, naghahabol po si Knott ng isang upuan dyan sa Tokyo Olympics. And later on, as we mentioned, we will be talking about the Sorsogon Bubble at ang ating po makakapanayam, ang PSC National Training Director at yun po yung representative ng Philippine Sports Commission dun sa Joint Administrative Order Task Force na binuo para itong imbestigahan ito pong di umano'y bubble ng UST sa Sorsogon. And finally, we will have Women's Basketball Professional League in the limelight very soon. At pag-uusapan po natin ang WNBL. Nako, panibago na naman liga. Ito kaya ay masusustain. Ito kaya ay tatagal. Ito kaya ay magbibigay ng bagong buhay sa women's basketball. Mamaya, kakasama po natin ang mga opisyales ng WNBL. Pero bago yan, pulsuhan na. Ito yung mga inihintay ninyo lagi. Ano ba ang ating pulso ng bayan ngayong araw pong ito? Ito ang tanong. Kaugnay pa rin ito ng tinataguriang Sorsogon Bubble. Ang tanong po namin ngayong araw pong ito, ano ang dapat na maging susunod na hakbang ng UAAP, PSC at GAB or Games and Amusement Board tungkol sa umano'y training bubbles ng ilang universidad? Kasi po, hindi lamang UST ang iniimbestigahan ngayon. Pati po yung training bubble di umano ng National University at kahapon, meron pang lumabas o inong isang araw tungkol naman sa University of the Philippines. Although tinanggi na to ni Coach Bo Perasol. Pero again, ang tanong po, dahil lumalaki ng lumalaki itong sunog, ito pong issue na ito, ano ba ang dapat maging susunod na hakbang ng mga otoridad sa larangan ng sports tungkol sa di umano'y training bubbles ng mga ilang universidad. Kung gusto niyo pong makilahok sa ating talakayan, sa ating Pulso ng Bayan, mag-text lamang sa aming hotline 0949-691-4956. Again, yan po ang ating mga numero, 0949-691-4956. O di kaya mag-post sa aming Facebook page, Power and Play with Noli Iyala, o di kaya sa Radyo 5, 92.3 News FM. Makisama po kayo at babasahin natin yan mamaya po sa ating second hour ng palatuntunan. Siya nga pala, bago tayo magpatuloy, gusto ko lamang pong bumati ng isang belated happy birthday sa ating mga kaibigan, lalong-lalo na dyan sa Pangasinan, si Congressman Robert Eskimo Estrella. Happy belated birthday mga kaibigan. Sa ating kaibigan si Congressman Eski Estrella. Gusto ko rin pong batiin ng isang happy birthday si Boss RC. Belated happy birthday, Boss RC. And si Attorney Sunny Nise, ang ating kasama dyan sa Ateneo Law School. Attorney Sunny, belated happy birthday. Safe trip also, by the way, kay parang Mike Uy. Naku, sa wakas, uuwi na siya papuntang San Francisco. Aba, kita mo naman yan, Nakauwi ka rin, parang Mike. Safe trip. Regards to the family. Ilang buwan ka rin naiwan dito at naantala. Finally, makakauwi na yung ating kaibigang si parang Mike Uy. Safe trip. And sa lahat po ng bumabiyahe, ingat-ingat lang po. Alright, at this point, mga kaibigan, syempre lagi tayo nagsisimula sa ating paboritong portion. Ito po yung tinatawag nating Fast Take, kung saan ating itinatampok ang inyong mga paboritong sports journalists. Sila po yung nasa likod ng mga balita at sila po ang ating nga itatampok ngayong araw na to. Today, however, isa sa inyong pinakapaborito ang ating makakasama, espesyal. At siya po ay, of course, lagi nyo naririnig sa mga broadcast ng UAAP games, collegiate games, and of course, a veteran and noted sports broadcaster. Walang iba kundi ang ating kaibigang si Mico Halili. Good morning, Mico. Buti na lang, nandiyan ka.
Good morning, Komnoli.
Good to see you. Wow. Alam mo, dapat kasama mo si Bill Velasco. But Bill had an emergency today and this morning. So kaya nag-beg off siya, but he was still trying. Sabi niya, kahit daw nasa sasakyan siya, sabi ko, nako, asikasuhin mo na muna yung emergency mo. How are you, Mico? How are you doing?
Okay naman, sir. Just staying safe here with my family at home.
Well, alam naman natin what has happened. Of course, you were part of the ABS-CBN Sports group, and alam naman natin what has happened to the group. So, in terms of that, Mico, patuloy ba yung digital group that you are, of course, heading?
Unfortunately, Komnoli, I am one of thousands of employees who have been impacted by what happened to ABS-CBN. So, kami sa ABS-CBN Sports, we've had to make the painful decision to move on, to actually close shop. So, pati kami sa ABS-CBN Sports Digital, we've had to say our farewell to the fans on our platforms, but ganyan ang buhay. Ganyan ang buhay. You just have to find a way to stay strong, learn the lessons, and be excited for whatever comes next.
That's what I like about you. Alam mo, kahit anong mangyari, nakangiti ka pa rin. There is still a lot of positivity coming out from you, and it's just amazing na patuloy na very maganda pagtanggap mo sa mga pangyayari. And of course, Mico, with a talent like you, I do not doubt that you will be back on air very, very soon. And we're very happy to have you. But alam mo, here on Fast Take, we ask about the opinions ng mga sports journalists. But before I go through the issues that I wanted to take up with you, I want to go first. Kasi ikaw, ang isa sa mga talagang nag-cover ng UAAP. You are one of the voices, the face of the broadcast of UAAP for a very, very long time. So alam ko malapit ito sa puso mo. Ito nangyayari ngayon sa UAAP, particularly ito nangyayari sa UST. Let me just get your opinion on this. Today, we already know, kahapon nag-resign na si Aldin Ayo ng UST, and obviously now the investigation is ongoing. Ikaw ba, do you think that it will end with the resignation ni Coach Aldin? Is this enough? Will this satisfy itong mga pangyayari sa alleged UST bubble?
It is so unfortunate na this is happening to the UST program and the UST basketball team because they were the feel-good story of last season with what they did, playing all the way to the finals, facing Ateneo. They had tremendous athletes like Renza Bando and Mark Nonoy. Aldin Ayo is a charismatic coach. A lot of people can identify with Coach Aldin. No? Yung tapang niya, yung parang siya, may underdog mentality. So it's very, very unfortunate that this is happening to them. Siyempre, as in any situation na, parang any situation that has either, parang put presumably athletes' safety in question. You have protocols na baka hindi nasunod, and therefore may consequences yan. Unfortunately, I think the UST community, by my estimation, I think the UST community is actually torn by it because they're so happy with what Coach Aldin did the past 2 years with reviving the UST program. But at the same time, syempre meron din members of the community na ang pakiramdam ay kailangan may managot, no? So yes, Comnol.
Sayang naman talaga, no? I mean, UST isa sa mga koponan na talaga up and coming with all their young players in a terrific vibrant program. Sayang na sayang talaga. It would have been a team to reckon with, the same way that UP has been building up and trying to catch up with Ateneo. UST, UP, De La Salle, and of course FEU were always there, and this really sets back that program, Mico.
Oh, kasi ang masakit kasi dito, when you look at the characters in this story, si Coach Aldin, mahal yan ng community. Si Renza Bando, mahal ng community. Si CJ Cancino, mahal ng community. And when this happens, masakit kasi parang hindi naman galit yung mga tao sa mga ito. They're not like itching to see them go away. Na parang, ay, salamat, sa wakas umalis na siya. Or, no, they love these guys. They love this team. Kaya napakasakit nitong nangyaring ito at yung mga posible pang mangyayari in terms of consequences to a community that loves this team so much.
Absolutely. Well, aabangan natin kung ano ang mga susunod na kaganapan dyan, but it will be an issue that will forever be burning in the hearts of a lot of UAAP fans. All right, Mico, it's time. It's time na ilagay ka, isalang ka sa aming Fast Take. Dito sa aming Fast Take, you're given a minute to answer 3 issues that are trending at the moment, and obviously 3 issues that you are very familiar with, having covered sports for a very long time. Dito ang tinatawag namin, bato-bato sa langit, tawaan, huwag magagalit. Ito ay opinion lamang, walang mapipikon. And you are ready. Ito ang ating unang take, Fast Take, Mico Halili. Ang tanong, ano ang iyong forecast para sa Philippine women's basketball sa susunod na 5 taon, considering may bago na namang ligang itatayo, tinatawag na WNBL? You have 1 minute. Go, Mico.
First of all, congratulations primarily to the players. Okay, ang players ang panalo dito. They are so ecstatic because itong mga graduating college players ay pwede nang maghanap buhay with the game that they love the most. So, congratulations sa kanila. I think the key here is sustainability. Okay, the key is sustainability. Ang gusto natin makita is that the Pro League for women is going to last a long time, that they will have a great business plan. Kasi yan ang susi eh. Pag mas lalong tumagal, mas lalong mapapaganda. I also wish to see na pati yung college women's game, the UAAP women's tournament, lalo din siya lumaki. So I hope it's a great chain reaction. You have the Pro League, and then you have yung masisikat pa yung college game. So masisikat yung players. You have bigger storylines. And ang gusto natin in the end, it's a bigger game and bigger opportunities for Filipina basketball players.
Alam mo, eksakto yung sinabi mo, Mico, about sustainability. That is the question here. Talagang, alam naman natin, there has been a couple of leagues na itinayo, yung WPBL back in 1998. Nagkaroon pa yung tinatawag na La Liga Filipina. This was in 2016. Both leagues folded. And again, that is the question when you put up a league like this. And of course, itong bagong ligang ito can certainly be a help sa Gilas Women's National Team. All right, we go to the second take nito, Mico. Ito, mas mainit pa to. Kasi ito, pinag-uusapan sa buong mundo. Even Stephen A. had a big issue about this. Ito ang tanong, Steve Nash ay hinirang bilang Brooklyn Nets head. Do you think this was a good or bad hire? You have 1 minute. Go, Mico.
Mabuti na lang, hindi ako manghuhula. So, hindi ko alam kung good hire or bad hire yan. Only performance will determine if this was a good hire or a bad hire. Siyempre, maraming former players, even legends who have tried coaching. It's not a guarantee that they will do well. But Steve Nash is such a great guy. Sobrang bait. You know, parang, I don't think anyone hates Steve Nash, so we wish him success. The key here is his relationship with the superstars. If he has a great relationship with his superstars on his team, and I believe that was a big reason why he was hired in the first place. You add that with actual on-court results, then you have a great fit. I think Steve Nash is a great communicator. Sabi nila, point guards make for great coaches. So hopefully, all of that will be a winning formula for one of the most likable basketball superstars on the planet.
Well, malaking hamon sa kanya yan. I think the big issue here is how much he can get out of his players, Kevin Durant and of course Kyrie Irving, and yung tinatawag na experience kasi yun yata ang ibinabato sa kanya.
Yep.
Kaya naman nila I believe they kept their assistant coach si Jacques Vaughn, who will now become one of the most expensive assistant coaches in the NBA. All right. Ito yung third and final fast take natin, Mico. Ang tanong, and this is again another issue that is, everyone is talking about this, the wonderful playoffs na nakikita natin sa NBA. So, with the teams down to the final 8, sino sa tingin mo ang 4 na koponan na makakapasok sa East at West Finals sa NBA playoffs? 1 minute, Mico. Go!
Again, my disclaimer, I am terrible at predictions. Sinasabi ko na yan. Sinasabi ko sa lahat yan ng lahat na nagtatanong. Hindi ako magaling sa prediction. But just the same, dahil tinanong ni Com Noli, I will answer it. I think the Lakers are going to win because, well, you never bet against LeBron James in the playoffs. No? In LeBron's career, parang you just don't doubt him pagdating sa playoff series. And then kung papasok ang Lakers, ipasok na rin natin ang Clippers para masaya. Western Conference Finals, we have LeBron versus Kawhi. In the East, siyempre, 2-0 na si Miami. They might go up 3-0. It's tough kasi everyone loves Giannis, pero maybe Miami's gonna win the series and then you can pick the Boston Celtics, so that might be a Heat in Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. And again, uulitin ko lang, sa inyong mga tagapakinig, hindi po ako magaling mag-predict. So, bahala na kayo kung gusto nyo maniwala.
Sabi ko nga walang mapipikon. Ano lang to, opinion lang. But you know, those are great choices, Mico. Talaga namang the odds are there. Pero alam naman natin sa basketball at sa tagal mo na nagko-cover ng basketball, walang sigurado hanggang hindi natatapos ang labanan. So, well, it's been fun having you on the show, Mico. Really, I wish we had more time. I'm certainly hoping na one of these days, I've never worked with you. And I really certainly hope that one day tayong dalawa makakaupo and we can work together.
Oh, for sure. I would look forward to that great opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mico Halili, for joining us today. Maraming salamat.
Salamat, Com Noli.
Yan po mga kaibigan, ang ating paboritong sports broadcaster, one of the best in the industry, Mico Halili, sa ating Fast Take. Wow, ang daming magagandang mga nabanggit na si Mico, pero ang daming disclaimer ha. true to his word as a sports journalist, laging merong caveat. Siguradong hindi matitisod, hindi mailalagay sa alanganin. Alright mga kaibigan, kamusta po sa ating mga nakikinig right now? Kay Alex Fuentes, suki natin yung good morning sa Power and Play at kay Com Noli. Happy weekend po sa inyo lahat. Happy weekend din sa iyo. Si Hazel Cabaluna, good morning po. Marieta Malundas, be safe watching here in Taguig City. Magandang umaga. Marami pa tayong babatiin mamaya. I think at this point, kanina pinag-uusapan natin yung women's basketball. Well, mukhang ngayon tayo maswerte na meron tayong mga makakasama sa ating palatuntunan. And ito po yung pinag-uusapang WNBL. And right now, we have with us ang Executive Vice President ng Women's National Basketball League, si Rose Monreal, at ang head coach ng national team ng Women's Gilas Pilipinas team, si Coach Pat Aquino. Good morning, Ma'am Rose. Good morning sa iyo.
Good morning, Coach Noli. Good morning, Coach Pat.
Good morning, Coach Pat. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Coach Com Noli. Good morning sa lahat ng nakikinig sa Power Play. Good morning, Rose.
Nice. Alam nyo, kayong dalawa ngayon ang mga vanguards ng women's basketball. So, let me just go first. Ladies first, syempre, alam naman natin na si Rose, you just got the nod for a professional league para sa liga mong Women's National Basketball League. And alam natin, this is already going to be your second season sa WNBL. Your first champion was the PSI or Lady Air Defenders, no? Una-una, Ma'am Rose, paano ba nasimulan itong proyektong ito? At ano ba ang vision behind this, Rose?
Actually, matagal na naman po tayong advocate ng women's basketball. Nasa Pro League pa lang po tayo. We're really working to convince talaga the board that time that it's high time to come up with the women's basketball. But maybe during that time, it wasn't the priority of the board yet. So we introduced...
When you talk about the board, it's the PBA board you're talking about?
Yes po. Actually, part of my 2013 presentation to the board that time was a WPBA.
Okay.
Opo. But naman, Comnoli, the core competence talaga of the Pro League is really yung men's basketball. So basically, that time, I thought it's not really parang like the league is ready for a women's basketball. So 2015, we introduced a WIS 3x3 during in between games of the PBA. So it was quite successful. And then there were already feedback na para why 3x3 mag 5-on-5 na tayo. So but that time I left already. So yun na nga po, when we put up NBL, it was really part of the program of the 5-year plan. And then after po the first season, there were like feedbacks already na yung amateur league kasi kung Noli, you're very familiar with the basketball industry. Actually, maraming women's league yung mga recreational league and all that. Yeah. So what will make WNBL different from the recreational league? And then during that time, Coach Pat also was preparing for the women's national team to compete with the SEA Games. So sabi po namin, some of our players who played for WNBL played for Coach Pat as part of her national team. So after po the victorious performance of the national team last SEA Games, sometime in February, we were already contemplating on how to bring the WNBL to the next level. And then po, we're about to meet with one of the GAB's parang head of pro games But the pandemic came. And then po, during the pandemic, we were given a chance to meet Chairman Baham personally. So parang we were discussing how to level up to a pro league for NBL. And then we mentioned to him about WNBL.
All right. Oo.
The very first question he asked was, marami bang talents? Marami bang manlalaro? So I told him, Chairman, there's really a surplus of good talents for
Uh,
women's basketball.
let me pick it up there, Rose, no? Kasi obviously si Coach Pat is the one that will know kung anong klase ang landscape ng women's basketball, having handled the women's national team for a very long time and a very successful program sa NU. Coach Pat, do you think na there is enough talent to come up with this kind of a pro league at ika nga magiging balances at maganda itong liga na magiging competitive itong ligang ito, Coach Pat?
Definitely, there's a lot of talent na masasabi natin for the girls. Kasi for the past how many years na ako nagko-coach ng babae, every time na lang na naggagawa ko ng national team, there are still more and more talent coming in. And I'm just happy na yung mga girls not just sticking to to sports like volleyball, but also with basketball. So isang example ko nga, Noli, is that when I held a tryout in Cebu this year lang, but 5 years ago when I held that tryout in Cebu, there was just only 20 women tried out for me. But this year alone, for the first time, almost 200 plus or 200 plus na girls, and not just they know how to play basketball, but they have talent. I was just amazed about it. And so sabi ko, wow, I really need to to make a program or a pro league this year. Sana that was the plan for me and SBP to do that, but again the pandemic came in, so it was postponed. So
you are part of the planning dito, Coach Pat? Kasama ka sa plano nitong WNBL?
No.
Talagang
SBP has really had a plan for it, but definitely kasi nga I was really pushing them to come on, support us, make us be more sabihin natin na makilala muna kami, that which is what we need, so that sponsor would come in and to have a sustainable a pro league. Yun yung plano talaga namin eh. So, yeah.
So that's good, because it's good to know that merong materyales fuertes, lalong-lalo na, no?
Marami.
Before I have a question, and we'll take a break after this question, but Rose, you'll answer this after this break. Why did you turn pro? Bakit nyo naisipan na yung WNBL ay maging pro? Bakit hindi na lamang amateur league? You'll answer that after this break. Magbabalik pa po ang Power and Play. We'll take a news break dito po sa Power and Play, hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Loom. Alright mga kaibigan, tuloy-tuloy po tayo sa Power and Play ngayong Sabado ng umaga. Kasama pa rin po natin ang Executive Vice President ng Women's National Basketball League, Ma'am Rose Monreal, and of course ang Head Coach ng Women's Gilas Pilipinas, Coach Pat Aquino. Ma'am Rose, before we took a break, sabi ko nga, ang tanong, bakit kayo nag-decide mag-pro imbis na manatili bilang isang amateur league?
Yes, Komnoli. Number one po, we felt that it's really an opportune time to turn into pro. Second po, marami pong nagba-back up din sa amin because having WNBL as an amateur league, what will make it different from the recreational league other than having a TV partner and putting into different broadcast platform? So kami po every end of the season, lagi po kami nagko-conduct ng mga reviews of what happened in the previous season, and the only way to go or level up is to go pro. In fact po, the reason why we also wanted WNBL to become a pro league is because para maging aspiration po siya for the women ballers, because we've talked to a lot of women ballers, and ang lagi po nilang sinasabi, after college basketball, ang aspiration na lang po nila talaga is to be part of the national team.
National team.
So, yeah, Coach Pat, I guess you agree with that naman po, no? So parang, but the national team can only accommodate X number of players, say for example, 20 or 25 in the pool. So what will happen po for the women ballers all over the country?
Right,
Ang alam lang po natin, Komnoli, is yung mga UAAP women ballers. But there's NCAA South, all over the country po, maraming mga nag-graduate na women ballers na parang nasaan po yung aspiration. So wala po eh. So parang sabi nga po, if I may share with you yung statement ni Miss Bea Daes Fabros of our WNBL ambassador, WNBL turning pro is a gift to women ballers in this pandemic. Kasi po, like, there are a lot of women who are losing hope already to play after college. In fact, Komnoli, if you will allow me to share with you po,
Yeah.
our team intent, no? I mean, we're really so surprised. Team from Cebu, Davao, Basilan, in the north. So parang nakakabigla po yung overflowing responses. And then when it comes naman po sa sponsors, you know naman po in one way or another, doon naman po yung forte natin, Komnoli. Parang ano po eh, parang hindi ka pa nakaka-lay down ng like the tournament format, saan i-air yung games. Marami na pong inquiries. Yes, Komnoli. So nakakatuwa po. So tama po yung sinabi ni Sir Mico, sustainability, yung board naman po ng NBL is composed of different personalities that has their own core competencies. Eh.
Now, let me ask about that.
Yes po.
Very quickly lang, who are
Yes po,
people behind this? Sino ang chairman of the board? Who are the people in that board right now?
Yeah. Komnoli, the chairman of the board is the president of the PSI Holding. Basically, the company is into different businesses, aviation, logistics, construction, and not to mention, we're into actually manufacturing electronic counting machines.
So ito
for
mga
elections.
mga team owners din. Parang PBA na team owners din ang nasa board. Ganun ang
Komnoli,
setup nyo.
basically ano lang po. We're only 5 in the board. The president, chairman, me, and then you're familiar naman po with Sir Edward. So he's our technical guy. Opo. He's our technical guy, Kom.
And he's also the commissioner, no? Siya ba ang commissioner?
Right now po, he's the commissioner for men's. But definitely, since we're turning pro, we might be entertaining other applicants for the commissionership.
Dapat si Coach Pat ang merong say dyan kasi siya ang may alam sa mga women's. But let me go to you, Coach Pat. Let me go to you about this. Kasi alam naman natin, as kanina nabanggit na ni Mico Halili, nabanggit ni Rose, yung sustainability. Marami nang nagsubok eh. In 1998, nagkaroon ng liga called WPBL. That was short-lived. hanggang mga 2000. Then binalik ulit in 2008 as part of the program ng SBP. Meron din yung tinatawag na Liga Filipina na in 2016. Yung mga player mo rin yata, Coach Pat, ang nagbuo nun, no? We also know yung mga Girls Got Game. Marami na yan, no? Do you think, and how do you size up itong bagong WNBL, Coach Pat? Iba ba to? Do you think it will be enough? They will have enough to sustain itong Pro League?
Well, as ang sabi ko nga, it's a good development for women's basketball. Definitely, ang question nga lang natin is how to sustain it as of the moment. Kasi nga, with the pandemic coming in, how would we have fan base? How do the sponsors coming? But Rose knows how to do it. It's just that the question is sustainability. Yun yung ano natin. Kasi nga sabi nga nung 1998, 1999 when we held the WPBL, yung WPBL is composed of the owners also from the PBL. Yung men's team, merong women's team kaya nabuo yung WPBL at that time. But at the end of the day, yung funds na dapat mapunta sa men's napupunta sa women. So, yung mga owners biglang nagsabi let's just focus on men's na lang muna ulit. Kaya nawala.
In fact, Ever Bilena yung perennial champion dun sa WPBL, no? So,
yes, sir.
Again, that's the issue there, yung balance of this league. Kasi that will be key in any league. Alam naman natin yan, Rose, no? Even in the PBA. Pag hindi balance, nawawala ng interest. So let me go to a little bit of the specifics here very quickly lang, Rose, because we're running out of time.
Yes.
Kayo ba magkakaroon kayo ng drafting? How are you going to disperse these players?
Yeah, actually, ang timeline po namin, right after the NBL bubble in Pampanga, we'll do something like an activity inside the bubble for the women's. And then po, by this week, we're putting up the draft form in our FB page for the women's to download and fill up and submit to us. Kasi po, the very first thing that we want to do is to conduct an inventory of the talent. Kasi po, basically, kahit sa mga lalaki rin, Komnoli, I don't think you will disagree. Ang karamihan po ng scarcity natin sa position is yung big men So, we really want to distribute the talents equally sa mga teams. So, we're going to have a draft po, except for Air Force and Navy who are coming in as a team already because 100% of the rosters are enlisted personnel of the Navy and Air Force. But the rest po, we call it a Protect 6. Like if you have a ready team, you just have to protect 6 of your players and then the rest will have to go to the draft.
Okay. What about the national team, Coach Pat? Papayagan mo bang lumaro dito sa Pro League?
Definitely, Coach. Definitely.
Thank you, Coach.
It's for themselves to grow, not only as a player but financially they will support their family. And I'm just wishing that the level of competition, sabi nga ni Rose, would be more leveling up for the national team. And by the time na mag-form ulit ako ng national team, they'll be better as a player.
So, paano ang dispersal ng national team? Nasa regular draft din sila, Rose? Kasi alam naman natin, iba na ang advantage yung mga naglaro sa national team, no? Malaking-malaki ang advantage nila.
Agree ko. I just need to clear nga lang po with Coach Pat. Because basically po, hindi ba, Coach Pat, every time that there's a competition, that's the time that you will be calling players to, parang try out or things like that? Or it's really po your choice?
No, I always make time na meron akong tryouts kasi I know for a fact that more talent is coming in. Definitely kagaya last year, it was half of the team was more of new talaga, puro bago. So I decided that, and it's a long process, not the men's, kasi men's will always have a short time making a team. But for me, I always make sure that my team prepares at least one year ahead of time para lang kasi pag hindi, wala talaga, hindi tayo makakapag-compete ng mabuti. So,
kasi Komnoli,
yeah.
Sorry po. Yung mga ibang players din po kasi ni Coach Pat, are already playing in some of the teams in the WNBL.
Okay.
In
Okay,
fact,
good.
April Bernardino po, we don't know whether she will be going to the draft, but I don't know, Coach Pat, if you're aware of this, she applied sa Navy to be an enlisted personnel. So Navy is expecting that April will be playing for them.
Okay,
Yun po,
nice.
Com.
Oh, so okay. So clearly there is a lot of work to be done, pero there is already a lot of synergy happening here. And again, I really wish na itong ligang ito ay mabubuhay para lalo pang buhayin yung napakagandang programang sinimulan na ng women's national team natin ni Coach Pat. So I guess the final question I want to know is, I want to ask the two of you is, at this point, ano ba ang level of confidence ninyo that this will help women's basketball sa ating bansa? I'll begin with you, Ma'am Rose. Ano ba ang, sa tingin mo, how will this help very quickly sa ating women's basketball program?
Kami po sa WNBL, we decided to turn pro because it has been a clamor from the women's group, no? So ang sa amin lang po, we're getting so much support and we want to work with different groups po. In fact, we also want to work closely with Coach Pat for this. So, ang question na lang po dito ay paano po tatanggapin ng mga tao ang women's basketball? Sa tingin ko po, ito na po yung time para ipamahal sa mga Pilipino ang mga manlalarong kababaihan.
Alam ko, Coach Pat, that is also part of your mission. Sabi mo nga nung sa SEA Games, sa 3x3, at nung nanalo yung national team natin, it's time na ang focus naman, hindi lang mapunta sa volleyball, kung hindi sa women's basketball.
Tama kayo doon, Comnol. I've been really wanting to, to let the people know that we have women's basketball also. And I'm so happy that, Ma'am Rose and the WNBL has been formed to, not to just prepare for the national team, but for the leveling of here in the Philippines of women's basketball. I know there's a lot of talent out there na talagang gustong-gusto maglaro ng basketball. And it's good for me as a coach of the national team. And I'm very happy for the girls who have been working their lahat ng pinagtrabuhan for the past 4 years in college, magkakaroon ng mabuting, may pagtutunguhan, kumbaga. And not only here, there are a lot na nagtatanong na sa akin from around the world, mga Phil-Ams, pwede ba sila maglaro dito? And then also mga from other countries na pwede ba kami maging import dyan? Sabi
Wow.
Sabi ko, yeah,
I
hope so. Sabi ko, I hope so in the years to come. Sabi ko, sana nga maging maganda tong programa ni Ma'am Rose ng WNBL. And it's not just helping the girls, but helping the national team itself.
Well, alam niyo po, I fully believe in this. I believe that this is a great program. And I certainly hope, tama yung mga sinasabi ni Coach Pat, we can involve many more, mga Phil-Americans, alam natin yan, marami yan, Nation Select, ang daming women's basketball players dyan, and hopefully, eventually, magkakaroon tayo ng higher level of competition by including some imports. But again, slow but sure, Ma'am Rose, yan lang naman ang importante.
Yes,
take it slow but sure, but build on every step that you take. Congratulations sa WNBL, Coach Pat. Always all the best to you. Stay safe and mabuhay ang women's basketball ng Pilipinas.
Thank you, Com.
Salamat,
Salamat.
Stay safe. Stay.
Yan po mga kaibigan ng ating mga kasama sa WNBL. Rose Monreal, ang Executive Vice President. Of course, the national coach ng women's team, si Coach Pat Aquino. Alright, mga kaibigan, tuloy-tuloy po tayo. Hello to Carlos Ocaloy Ramos is watching, at saka si Sky Angeles. Si Marcos D. Chengbeng is also watching, at si Gab Ferreras, good morning from Quezon City. Sabi kay Ma'am Rose Monreal, Soy Mercado, congratulations. Mukha naman kay Francisco Tubal, watching from Santo Tomas. Kabayan, magandang umaga sa iyo, si Francisco Tubal. Hello to Vincent Retuyan, get well, Enteng. At saka si Joy Abaha, and of course, yung si Aga Estrellado, isa daw shout out. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Doon po sa nag-aabang ng NBA right now, lumalamang na ang Miami, 104-99. 3 minuto na lamang ang nalalapit. Dito po sa laban na to, naku Diyos ko. Kawawa ang Milwaukee pag natalo dito, mahirap makabalik sa 3-0. So abangan niyo po yan. At this point mga kaibigan, ang isa sa pinakamainit na balita last week, yung pagkakabasag sa record ni Lydia de Vega, yung kanyang 33-year record ng 100-meter dash. At ang nakabasag po niyan isang Phil-American. She is a second-timer sa ating show. At ito po ang ating panayam with Kristina Knott, the fastest Filipina today. We are joined here right now in this portion by the woman of the hour, somebody who has given us so much joy in her feat and her accomplishment, breaking a 33-year-old Philippine national record. No other than our fastest woman in the Philippines, Kristina Knott. Hello, Kristina. Nice to see you again.
Hello. How are you?
You know, I remember the first time that you joined us on Power and Play, and you were barely in Manila. You were just getting your feet wet, and here you are, now being called the fastest woman in the Philippines by breaking a revered record of Lydia de Vega that stood for 33 years. How does that sound, Kristina?
It still has, I still have to get used to that. Like I finally posted on social media because it's like kind of sitting in, but it's still not sitting in yet.
Were you even conscious about the record itself?
No. So I thought I got first when she crossed the line, and I looked at her number. I was like, oh my gosh, I ran 11:1. But then I looked at the second number. I was like, 11:2 is not bad. So I mean, and then they said her name, and I was like, okay, I got second then. And then they were like, national record. I was like, oh, she got the national record. They were like, no, Philippines. I was like, oh. So I was not expecting that.
This whole time, when you were preparing for this, and I guess the rest of the time that you've been running, that number, that 11.28 in the century dash, was never on your mind?
No, I was only working for the 200. So that track meet, I was supposed to run the 200. I wasn't even supposed to run the 100. But there was like an error and miscommunication, and the person who hosted the meet, they're like, okay, you're going to do the 100, you're not doing the 200. So I'm not going to lie, I was kind of mad that I had to run the 100 because I was like, I'm not training for this. I had a love-hate relationship with the 100 because there's not a lot of time to think. In the 200, if you mess up, you got time to think and like get your speed back together. The 100, I'm just like, okay. So I was so nervous going into the race.
Yeah, and you were running against an Olympic champion in long jump, the long jump, and a lady, the one, Kayla White.
Yes.
She was ranked like second in the United States. So this was not an easy race for you, and you're saying that this was not planned. So
no.
This must really be a blessing in disguise.
Yes, it is. Wow. I think it kind of like woke me up of like, okay, you can try to go for both, not just the 200 for the Olympics. So I was like, okay, fine.
All right. Let me ask you, first of all, why did you participate in this meet, Drake Blue Oval Showdown in Iowa? Was this part of getting points? Is there a reason why you went, aside of course for the prize money that was at stake here, but is this part of the training that you have?
Well, for training, because of COVID, like mostly all my competitions got canceled. So we've been doing time trials. So we'll train as if we're like still competing, and then on weekends we'll do a time trial. And then this came out of nowhere, and they were like, "Hey, you have an opportunity to run in the meet and actually run against people." So I was like, "Okay, I'd rather do that than run against myself every weekend." So,
well, you stay in Florida, so you had to travel. Obviously, there had to be some kind of preparation for this particular meet. How did you prepare for this one, and how early did you actually prepare, given the situation in Florida where you find yourself in?
I feel like I was already preparing for like this opportunity because of the time trials. So whether I was going to compete in the 100 at Iowa, or if I was going to be on the track by myself, like sending my coach the time, I still had like a track competition mindset going into these races. So it was kind of like I kind of already was preparing for this, and I didn't even know it.
Is there a full team that you are working with?
No, I'm by myself. Sometimes I call my friends and say, "Hey, you want to do this workout with me?"
That is amazing. You know, we've talked to EJ Obiena as well, and you know, he's got a coach back there in Italy. But you know, like you, he is on his own. But you know, given your situation, that is amazing how you've prepared. Now, let me ask you about the race. You know, you were running against Tiana Bartoleta, who is an Olympic champion in long jump, and you were running against, as I mentioned, Kayla White, who is ranked second in the United States in terms of the 100 meters. Was that pressure?
Oh my gosh, I was so scared. So
and you were only three. You were only three.
Exactly. It was supposed to be 4. So the other one was a long jumper, and she dropped out last minute. I was like, okay, because like going into it, I was like, okay, God, I just want to get top 30, get paid. Like, come on, just give me. And then she dropped out. I was like, okay, now I'm not trying to get last, God. But they released the heat sheets Thursday night. So I looked at the heat sheets and I was like, I knew that I was gonna go against Tiana, but then I saw Kayla White and her name like sound familiar. And you know, like when you see the heat sheet, you see like their personal best and stuff like that. I normally don't look at that, but because I looked at that, my stomach was turning from Thursday until Saturday until I got on the blocks, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
What did you get yourself into?
I know.
Yeah, okay. But did you feel that, you know, that helped? Running against these athletes or running with them helped you get a good time?
For sure. Because if I'm not on like edge, usually when I'm on edge and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I'm literally shaking in my blocks, I'm running fast regardless every time.
How were the conditions of the race? It looked like it was a perfect day to break a record.
So in the morning, so I'm coming from like 94-degree weather, you know, Filipino weather. And then when I got there in the morning, it was like 64 degrees. And I'm like, this is freezing. And it's funny because like the first event was the mile. And a lot of the officials were like, oh, this is perfect weather. I was like, this is not perfect sprinting weather. But it started warming up. Once I started warming up.
Were you running against the wind?
No, the wind was plus 1.5. So it was at our back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know, you ran a terrific race. I saw the video. You had a great start. You sort of lagged off maybe about 20, 30 meters into the race, but then you picked it up and you actually were in the lead for a while.
And they didn't say that. And I was like...
You were in the lead for maybe in the 70, 75 meter mark until Kayla put on a burst of speed. But were you satisfied with the way you ran? Do you think that you could have run even faster?
Yes, I think I could have. Because after I did the race, I was like, man, I could have run 11:1. But it's so funny that everybody talks about like my start being amazing. That was the first time I got in blocks. Like we don't practice. Yeah, because I'm in class, so it's like I don't have blocks. So I'm just like, all right, let's just go out there.
So in terms of that particular race, and I guess in your entire training, what have you been focusing on? I mean, I know that you'd rather run the 200 meters, which you also hold the record, the Philippine record, breaking it in the Southeast Asian Games. But which part of your technique is something that you're focusing on right now?
I know it's funny. So there's 2 things I'm working on. There's something that I'm working on personally, and then like my coach. So for my coach, he wants me to work on like top end speed. So that's like from like out of the dry phase, so the middle part to the end. So to make sure I finish strong. Because usually like if you see my races like in the past, I'm like dying after like 70 meters because I'm like putting so much like power into it instead of like distributing my speed. So he's helping me with like race distribution. For me, I always struggle with my drive phase. So like usually they want us to drive to like 30. I'm like driving to like 20 and then I'm up running, and then that's when people like come after me or whatever. And I remember doing a meet like earlier in Jacksonville, And this random coach, he like messaged me and he was giving me some pointers, and I'm like, I mean, you're not my coach, but you're trying to make me win, so I'm gonna take that. So I'm like listening to like little feedbacks from people here and there. So when I do my accelerations in practice, I make sure I'm like trying to like drive to like 30.
Well, obviously, all of these is in preparation for hopefully making the Tokyo Olympics. That is still the goal, I suppose. Right, Kristina?
Yes.
And
Yes.
right now, from what we were told by Patafa, you are about 0.09 seconds away from the qualifying time in the 100 meters and about 0.12 or 0.12 ticks away from qualifying in the 200 meters. Are you confident that that is within reach and that is going to be made up in the next coming months?
Yes. I'm still trying to like get it through my head that I have a potential in the 100, but for sure the 200. Like, just give me a 200 race, give me 2 of those, and
what is the latest from Patafa in that sense? I know that the track and field is one of the mandatory sports in the Olympics, and PJ Obieno obviously qualified because of his performance. Does that give us still one more slot in the Olympics that we can see an athlete just like you?
I think I know the rules before. It was like if one person qualifies, then everyone has to qualify. So usually it's if there's no one who qualifies, they send one boy or one girl. But I never wanted to like just be sent. Like, no, I want to earn my spot. Like, no, I'm here because I ran fast enough to hit the qualifying time. So the whole like betting on we're gonna send one girl. No, I don't want it that way. I want to qualify.
All right. If that is the case, then what is your pathway to Tokyo? What are your plans, Kristina?
So I'm going on break in September. I start back up in October, and hopefully by next year I have competitions lined up that will not be canceled. So
and
I mean,
all of these are in the 200 meter mark, or are you still
200 or 100?
And the 100. All right. All right.
Yeah.
And are there specific meets that you're really looking at this point?
Not any in particular, just any, like if someone's fast in it, put me in it. And if I can get into it, like put me in it.
So there are no specific meets or competitions that are named as Olympic qualifying competitions.
No.
As long as you make the time and it is a acceptable standard by the in terms of the conditions of the race, then that will be accepted by the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's like the coolest part about running track is like, unlike boxing or like basketball, there's no like tournament, Olympic qualifying tournaments. You just hit the time and you go.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's interesting because a lot of people would be scrambling for positions just to get to a qualifying tournament. But at least in track, it really depends on your own skills and qualifications. Now, I know this hasn't been easy for you, given the conditions of the pandemic, and obviously this entails some support that in terms of funding. Are you getting enough support from the Patafa or from the Philippine Sports Commission, Kristina?
It's hard to say right now because of COVID, because everything has kind of slowed down. So I don't see the need for the funding right now because I'm not like traveling and stuff right now. Right now I'm just training. So it's like, it's kind of hard to say like, oh, I'm lacking or I have enough, because I'm not like, my scheduling that required a lot of funding, it's not the same anymore. So that's not fine.
Well, I guess until you start really moving around and traveling, and but has there been a pledge at least from your officials in the Track and Field Federation or from the PSC that you will be receiving the support that you need? Yes.
Sir Rico has communicated that, so trusting in his word.
All right. Well, you're still very young. Obviously, this is not going to be your last shot at the Olympics. and you're obviously going to just get better and better as you continue running. We've seen that in the last 3 years. You've now broken records that were thought to be unbreakable. Of course, all records are meant to be broken, but that was a revered record, as I mentioned. How do you see track and field in the Philippines right now? Given what you've done, given what EJ is doing, and given how we performed in the Southeast Asian Games.
Can you elaborate on that question? What do you mean?
For instance, do you think Philippine track and field has really improved? We've developed a lot of good athletes with the program that we currently have.
Yeah, I feel like these upcoming years, whether it's going to be at this Olympics or the future big meets, I feel like people are going to know who the Philippines are. They're not going to be like, what? We only know Pacquiao. Like, I feel like there's going to be other names that they know.
Do you think that there is a need to improve the program even more? Like maybe put up some prize money for athletes so that track and field can become actually a career for athletes at your level?
Of course, yeah. There's always room for improvement, but the prize money would be great.
Oh, and I guess also the grassroots program. Would you be willing to help out and look for those talents that are all over the countryside?
Yeah. I have some that follow me on Instagram, and I'm just like, dang, it would be so cool to like meet some of the athletes that look up to me, especially like the women. So,
I cannot leave this interview without asking you, what breaking Lydia de Vega's record means to you. I mean, this is a woman that many of us grew up with, marveling at her feat, of being the Asia's fastest woman back in the 80s. And now you break a record that has stood for a very long time. What does that mean to you personally?
First of all, it's an honor. And I didn't think I was going to break both. For sure, I was confident in the 200 because I was like, I can hit the 200, but I was like, the 100 is a little bit of a stretch. So, I don't know. I'm just super proud of being able to take the crown.
That sounds really good to hear, huh? I mean,
yeah.
Just taking over the crown. Well, that stood for 33 years. Do you think your record will stand for another 33 years?
No. See, this is the funny part. I was thinking about this. I have to break the record again in order to qualify. So they're coming down again, Miss KK.
Terrific. And that's a good way to end, Kristina. Well, we wish you luck. I certainly... Yan po mga kaibigan ng ating panayam kay Kristina Knott, ang pinakabagong track sensation ng Pilipinas. At pagkatapos niyang basagin ang record ng ating minamahal na si Lydia de Vega sa track and field 100-meter event with a time of 11.27 seconds. 100th of a second niya nasira yung record na tumayo ng 33 taon. Well, congratulations again kay Kristina Knott. We certainly hope na siya ay makakwalify sa Olympics, lalong-lalo na sa kanyang favorite event na 200 meters. Alright, mga kaibigan, baka doon sa nag-aabang po doon sa laro ng NBA, tapos na. Naku po. Talagang naku po. Ika nga nung araw, tinatawag ko, Sus Mariosep, natalo na naman po ang Milwaukee Bucks, the number 1 seed in the NBA. Natalo po sila ng Miami Heat sa game number 3 ng kanilang Eastern Conference Semifinals, 115-100. Alam nyo ba, ang laki na namang ng Milwaukee, they only scored 13 points in the final quarter. At nung huling 2 minuto, halos hindi na nakakuha ng bola itong si Giannis Antetokounmpo. He finished with 21 points, a double-double, 21 and 18, I believe. Pero pambihira ang ginawa ni Jimmy Butler. Again, leading the charge para sa balance attack ng Miami. Nanalo po ang Miami Heat. They're now up 3-0 sa seryeng yan at mukhang ibabaon na ang Milwaukee Bucks. Yung bata ni Homer Saison, parang Homer, nako, sorry, you gotta jump out of that bandwagon right now. Alright mga kaibigan, gusto namin po magpasalamat sa lahat po ng mga tagapagtaguyod ng ating programa Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa Tibay, Big Boss sa Tatag. Nandito na ang Big Boss Cement, di basta matitibag, approved sa kalikasan at sobrang abot kaya. Maraming salamat sa ating Chief Company Innovator, Engineer Gilbert Cruz, and of course, ang kanilang buong staff. Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa Tatag, Big Boss sa Tibay. Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Laging maasahan pagdating sa tag-ulan, tag-araw. Available sa lahat po ng leading department store, hardwares at mga construction shops. Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Maraming salamat po kay paring Elmer Ngo ng Cherry Loom. Elms Kapihan and Bar, Elms Resto Bar Group. Mga kaibigan, meron na po silang party platters, free delivery via GCash and BDO. Tawagan lamang ninyo ang kanilang mga numero. Alam niyo po ang Elms, meron silang branches dyan po sa Cali Bistro, Ever Commonwealth, sa Robinsons Novaliches, meron din po sa Poblacion, and of course sa Brixton Street sa Makati. Napakasarap no kanilang bagong inihahandog, yung sinigang na corned beef at saka yung bulalo, yung kanilang bulalo na may tinapay. Nako, napakasarap po Elms Resto Bar Group. Lagi po niyong tawagan, 82345554. Marami din po salamat sa ating mga kaibigan sa Joyride, ang inyong bagong kasundo, Joyride Kasundo sa pagtulong. Wherever you are, whatever you need, we can deliver and we'll do it for you as low as 49 pesos. So book all your delivery and pabili needs now sa pamamagitan ng Joyride. Make sure you download the latest Joyride and Happy Move app. Marami din po salamat sa Maquillage Professional, ang ating officials hair and makeup sa Power and Play, MP School of Makeup Artistry. Marami po salamat sa inyo. And of course, Skin, your face and body anti-aging center. Ang Skin po ay bukas na dyan po sa kanilang branches sa Alabang Town Center and of course Wilson Street sa Green Hills. If you have any skin concerns, tumawag lamang sa 0917-890-1640. Magpa-set up ng appointment at ready na kayo for your skin and skin needs and your face and body anti-aging needs. Alright, maraming salamat kay Dr. G. Sarmiento and of course Dr. Richie Sarmiento. At this point, mga kaibigan, ang ating pong mainit na pinag-uusapan kanina. Oh, by the way, gusto lang po natin magpasalamat sa lahat po ng nagpadala ng kanilang mga notes sa pulso. Merong isang kaibigan tayo sa Twitter na nagbigay ng kanyang opinion tungkol dito sa ating tinatanong sa pulso, no? Ito po ay si ito, hanapin lang natin. Ito, si J. Lord. Ang dami, ang haba ng kanyang sinaba. Ito lang, basihahin lang natin to. If UAAP wishes to continue the upcoming season, training bubbles should be allowed, but with strict supervision. Guidelines should be put in place with coordination of proper authorities and medical experts. Since marami sport, UAAP or even NCAA, one training bubble per sport. Kunwari, all basketball teams of all schools in one bubble. Marami pang sinabi si J. Lord. Maraming salamat. And of course, si DAP, sabi niya, may sumanta pa siya Tiny bubble in the south make me worry, make me feel sad. Parang may composition si DAP. Thank you to all that submitted. Si J. Chio, it was done in violation of all protocols and pronouncements by IATF. Di kikilos at kakalakas loob ang coaches if walang basbas sa taas. Yung iba malakas loob kasi backed up by mega business companies. Parusahan mga in charge, not players. Mali na values na turo dito if lulusot ito. So, alright mga kaibigan, dami natin mga nagpapadala ng kanilang pulso. Tuloy-tuloy lang po niyong ipadala at ating babasahin mamaya pa. Right now, nakasama po natin ngayon, this is a portion na to ng Power and Play at pag-uusapan po natin yung tinatawag na UST Bubble. Walang iba kundi miyembro ng Joint Administrative Order Task Force mula sa Philippine Sports Commission, ang kanilang National Training Director, second timer dito sa Power and Play, Mr. Mark Velasco. Magandang umaga, Mark.
Good morning, Com Noli Yala, at good morning sa lahat ng nanonood at nakikinig sa Power and Play.
Thank you so much. Alam ko na si Chairman Butch ay pinadala ka. Talagang ikaw ang in-appoint ni Chairman Butch para magsalita para sa PSC. Let's go straight to the point, Mark. Alam natin na the PSC is part of the task force na para imbestigahan itong mga pangyayari dyan sa Sorsogon. Let me just go. Alam natin sa pag-iimbestiga, there are certain things that have to be dealt with. So far, Mark, ano ang mga nakita na ninyong unrefuted facts of this case?
Well, first of all, sasabihin ko na when we invited UST, UAAP, and NU, it wasn't really, we wouldn't say it as investigation. The premise of the meeting was to provide an avenue for them to explain, or maybe medyo we were saying na baka naman iba yung lumalabas sa media. And of course, you know how social media and Twitter ay lumalabas medyo extreme. So we provided them, we told them that you can explain it to us in some way or another. How can we help? And in terms of NU, they were able to explain and provide answers sa questions because we brought in Commission on Higher Education. Even Chairman Popoy de Vera was there, and NU was able to answer the question. In terms of UST, they conducted their own investigation. Sila mismo in-house, they did their own investigation on the matter. And they found out, of course, that one of the things na lumabas dyan, and I would like to say this in front, no, we were not, PSC and GAB were not given a copy of the investigation report by UST. They only provided a copy sa DOH and CHED. But during our discussion yesterday, it turned out that there are some things that are, like you say, irrefutable. Was they actually did their training, whether they would describe it as a bubble or not. There was a training that occurred in Sorsogon. So that's as far as I can go in terms of the facts that was discussed during the meeting yesterday.
Okay, hindi ba, I mean, let me just play a little bit of devil's advocate dito. Hindi ba nakakapagtaka na mismo ang UST pa ang nag-iimbestiga nito, considering na sila ang involved, no? I mean, I'm not casting aspersions, just stating fact na itong koponan comes from UST, and therefore there might be some level of awareness, culpability, acquiescence, whatever you might call it, sa panig ng UST, and it is UST themselves na gumagawa or nagpipresenta ng kanilang sariling report. Is there some concern on the part of the JAO?
That is why we are finalizing a report, and we will submit on Monday sa IATF. In terms of yung culpability ng university, I think that part belongs to the Commission on Higher Education, and that's what they are looking at right now. And that will be part of the report that will be submitted. Yung part ng JAO, which is between DOH, PSC, and GAB, we will have our own report. But CHED, for their part, which is basically more of administrative, they're going as far as sino may alam or how far up in the university administration knows about this. So that will be on the CHED side. So I cannot really say anything about that at the moment.
Okay, so you're saying na at least with respect to the participants dito, hindi sa inyo yan, that will be part of the CHED. But of course, alam natin, in terms of the training itself, yung alleged training sa Kapoy Sorsogon, talagang nandun ang UST team. I think that is established, no? Sir Mark?
Yes, that was established. That was discussed yesterday between DOH and CHED kasi sila lang yung may kopya. So they discussed it within our meeting. Okay. And it was, I can fairly say that there was really a training that occurred in the Sorsogon.
From the point of view ng PSC, ng GAB at saka ng DOH, ano ang hinahanap ninyo? Anong issue ang tinutukoy ninyo dito? Is this the issue of the violation of the IATF guidelines in terms of practices and of non-professional sports? Yan ba ang inyong main focus sa inyong, I guess, na pinag-uusapan?
Well, the main the main purpose talaga for us was to find out if there were safety protocols that were breached. Was the students or the student athletes exposed to a risk in terms of health-wise? Nagkasakit ba sila doon? O was their test involved? So yun yung nag-center yung discussion namin. In terms of other violations, how were they able to cross through local governments, or what was the permit? I think that's up to IATF through DOJ to find out kung ano yung violations nila doon. But for us,
so
yeah, yun yung
compartmentalize natin. So kayo, hindi pa kayo dun sa IATF guidelines. Kayo more of the health risks for the students. Yun ang inyong main concern.
Yes, yun yung main concern, because as per JAO, under 21, non-professional nga is there's a lot of restriction na nangyayari doon. So we are looking at if any of those are being violated. But that will be part of our report. Isasubmit namin sa Monday.
And then, of course, narinig natin that, of course, the violation so far as sa kasalukuyan ang pinapayagan lamang mag-practice ay mga professional sports. Is that under your group or ito ay sa DOJ din?
For professional sports, of course, that's under GAB. But the JAO as a whole, we provide guidelines and protocols. So nagtutulungan din kami. But in terms of facilitating sa professional sports, kasi sila lang ang allowed, specifically professional leagues ng PBA, Chooks to Go, and Philippine Football League, and even boxing is being coordinated by GAB. Sa non-pro or sa amateur part, kami po yung nagko-coordinate or nag-facilitate. At the moment, we are pushing for the resumption of the Olympic athletes or Olympic-bound athletes that are here in the Philippines. So yun lang muna yung, hanggang doon lang po yung coordination namin.
Mamarapating ko na to, Sir Mark, kasi at mawalang galang na. Kasi alam mo, malinaw naman no, na may IATF guidelines, no? Malinaw yan na bawal pang mag-ensayo ang mga non-professional sports. Nabanggit mo nga yung mga ligang pwede. Bawal ang lumabas ang mga below 21 years old. At ang huli ay bawal tumawid, no? At parang sa akin yung tinatawag nila sa English na open and shut, no? Talagang andun lahat yung elemento, no? So alam mo, tanong ng ordinaryong tao, ang tanong ng isang nagmamasid. At of course, marami na tayong puna-puna. Pinuna natin si General Sinas, kung sino-sinong pinupuna natin na lumabag sa IATF protocols. Bakit napakahirap gumawa ng finding tungkol dito na tila ang linaw-linaw ng mga facts of the case? At maybe the right question is, sino ba ang dapat na magbigay nitong findings na to? Para kasing from our perspective, parang nagpapasahan ng bola eh. What is ano ba ang kaduluduluhan na nakikita mo dito, Sir Mark? Sino ang magbibigay ng desisyon at sino ang magpapataw ng penalties?
Magandang tanong yan. Actually, the one who will make the decision is we are just finalizing a report, submit to IATF. Now, IATF, since they're the body or the collection of agency who's in charge at the moment, sila po yung magde-decide or sila yung magsasabi na, okay, we will start investigation. And I think the only government agency is NBI and PNP at the moment. Sila lang yung pwedeng mag-do a formal investigation, and then they're the only ones who can file charges. So yun lang po yung pinaka-clear doon. So it's either them will be the ones who will file the charge and start the investigation. Sila po yung...
Okay, so basically recommendatory talaga yung JAO. Alright, in so far as the UAAP is concerned, meron ka bang balita? Alam natin na nag-submit na ang Board of Managing Directors ng UAAP patungo sa Board of, I believe, Trustees or Policy Board ng UAAP. Is there any news about whether this will be decided also by the UAAP insofar as it is within their jurisdiction?
I think for UAAP, I cannot say this for them, no. But as them, as they are called sometimes, term nila is self-regulating. So I think they have to decide it among themselves kung ano yung sanctions na ipapato nila sa school in terms of athletic activity. I think they did it before with previous university. But just to tell you lang, Comnol, the PSC, the GAB, and the DOH, together with the CHED, we're actually looking into maybe instead of restricting yung training ng mga athletes, collegiate athletes for that matter, maybe we could open this up and provide them with the proper guidelines. Kasi we would rather have them train in a very well-monitored environment rather than magtatago sila, which is more dangerous. So we are looking at that possibility. And for us naman, if the schools are willing to look at their own student athletes and magmo-monitor na lang yung government bodies, I think that would be better and that would work for everybody else. Yun naman po yung directions namin ngayon on the other note.
Well, that is very good to note kasi nabasa ko nga na moving forward, kayo ay parang gusto nyong turuan ang mga amateur bodies kung ano yung tamang pamamalakad, no? And again, this will be taken from the experience ng professional sports. I think that's what's being suggested by Chairman Baham Mitra ng GAB, no? So in that regard, because alam naman natin ang PSC is the highest sports body dito sa ating bansa in terms of the government, no? And moving forward, are you looking at maybe consolidating eventually? Kasi we have to learn from this. Obviously, ang daming mga iba't ibang mga grupo sa amateur sports na iba-iba ang kanilang sinasabi, iba-iba ang kanilang patakaran. But there's only one law of the land na dapat sundan. And again, they're trying to skirt all of the issues by saying self-policing kami. Moving forward, is the PSC looking at possibly amending some of the policies and coming up with policies that will govern amateur sports in this country?
Definitely, yun yung tinitingnan natin. And we'll be working with government agencies such as DOH, GAB, and even CHED, especially for collegiate sports. Kasi there's this adage naman tayong sinasabi na, no, yung bata, if you prevent them from swimming, they would, from jumping in the swimming pool, maghahanap ng paraan dyan na tatalon sa swimming pool. Might as well teach them how to swim for them to be more safe. So yun yung direction namin forward. And I think it's better for us na nakikita natin na nagte-training nagpa-practice sila na safely rather than nagtatago nga na which would put more people at risk.
Well, meron na tayong batas about yung 10676, which is the Student Athlete Protection Act, and certainly that could be a jumping point in terms of knowing kung gaano kalakas dapat nating protektahan ang ating mga student athletes. Well, Sir Mark Velasco, marami po salamat sa oras ninyo. We've learned a lot. We certainly know that ang dami pa niyong trabaho. And we'll check back in with you again siguro in next week para malaman natin kung ano mga developments sa sitwasyon ng Sorsogon Bubble. Maraming salamat, Mark Velasco.
Maraming salamat, Comnoli.
Thank you very much. Yan po mga kaibigan, si Mr. Mark Velasco, National Training Director ng Philippine Sports Commission and of course, miyembro ng Joint Administrative Order Task Force na nag-iimbestiga. But sabi nga niya, recommendatory para dyan sa tinatawag na Sorsogon Bubble, yung pong UST issue at ang iba pang mga issues tungkol sa training ng universidad. Sana matapos na yan, para talaga namang maprotektahan natin ang ating mga atleta. Alright, at this point mga kaibigan, we'll take a very quick break. Magbabalik pa po ang Power and Play hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Loom. Nagbabalik po ang Power and Play. Kinakamusta natin si Jerry or Gary Karingal. Komnoli, kamusta from San Juan City? Magandang umaga po sa inyo dyan sa San Juan. Si Ronnie Alico mula sa ating probinsyang Laguna. Good morning from Calamba, Laguna. Kamusta rin po sa mga tiga San Pablo, lalong-lalo na sa San Pablo Colleges and sa SPC Medical Center. Kamusta rin sa St. Patrick's School, dyan naman sa May Quezon City. Si Voj Alidalok, God bless, sabi niya, at si Emma Mohe is watching. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Alright, naku, ang dami na natin na pag-usapan pero hindi pa po tayo tapos. Nakapanayam din po natin, at ito ang ating ipapasok ngayon, ang dalawa sa inyong paborito mga PBA players. Ano ba ang ginagawa nila? Kamustahan dito sa Power and Play? Mga alumni po ng ABL. Alam niyo yung ABL, kahit pa paano na involved tayo dyan. At nakita natin itong dalawang to. Lalong-lalo na si Matthew Wright. Noong 2008, nakasama ko na yan sa national team doon po sa Iran. He was a young player then and I knew he would be a star one day. Siya na po ang ating makakasama together with Mo Tautuaa dito po sa ating portion ng Power and Play. Kamustahan Matthew Wright and Mo Tautuaa.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, man.
Yeah,
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
really good to see you.
thank
You
you.
know, first of all, how are your practices? I know that the PBA has already given the green light for you guys to have 4-on-4 practices. How has it been so far, Ramo?
It's good, man. You know, I'm burning off all this quarantine weight, get my summer body ready again. You know, I packed on a little bit, but nothing too bad. Just making sure I'm going to be ready for the season coming up.
Matt, you know, obviously it's good to be back on the floor.
Yeah, I had to shake off some rust. I think this is like the first time I couldn't dunk for the first practice. So I'm a little worried. That's usually like my barometer, like to see if I'm in shape or not. So, but after a couple of practices in, I felt like my legs were back, and I feel like the jump shot's always there. It's like riding a bike, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, we're all looking forward to, of course, seeing you back, you know, in competition. Of course, it'll take a little while, and we'll talk about that a little later. But, you know, one thing that's happened during this pandemic, obviously, is that a lot of leagues, particularly the PBA, of course, but one league that you were part of, the ABL, the Asean Basketball League, really took a big hit. We know that it's a unique setup in the ABL where it's a home and away. So even travel, it has become very difficult. And obviously, the ABL would be affected tremendously. And I'd like to take that up as we begin this interview. You know, both of you were alums. You played in the ABL even for a short bit. Both of you, interestingly, played with the West Ports Malaysia Dragons, although you never played together. So I'll start with you, Matt. You know, you played... before you played in the ABL, you worked with the Philippine national team, and you could have gone after college straight to the PBA. So what made you decide to take that ABL route?
Well, actually, I went to Europe first after I graduated. I just wanted to try out the European market. I knew that the PBA would be there for me. And then after that year, Coach Ariel got in contact with me. He found out that I was Filipino, and he wanted me to join him on the Malaysia Dragons. He said that he was recruiting Jason Brickman also at the time. So, and I knew Jason. I knew how good he was. So, especially a player like me with a pass first point guard, I knew that we would do some damage. So, they recruited me to go to that team. I said yes, and yeah, the rest is history.
Well, interestingly, it was Ariel Vanguardia who picked you up, and not your old coach, Francois Maren, who was obviously had a lot of ties in the PBA during that time. Mo, you know, you were a high school star in Claremont. You were a college star in the NCAA Division I, also with your college. And many stories have been written about how you knew a guy from the PBA, Ponky Alalor. And yet, you went through also this same route that Matt went through, the Asean Basketball League. Did you even think of going straight to the PBA first, or was this really part of the plan?
Well, for me, actually, I had a couple hurdles I had to go through to get into the PBA. I didn't really want to play D-League, and at the time when I was kind of like deciding whether or not I wanted to play anymore after college, I kind of thought to myself, should I continue or go for work, And so at first I was like, I'm just gonna work, get a regular job and just be a regular person. But my brother told me, work will always be there. So I put the books to the side for a little bit. And at the time, Coach AV, he found me, so I was like, hey, I'll give this a shot. Let's see where it takes me. And from there, the ball just kept rolling, and now I'm here.
Did you even know about the PBA, and was that ultimately the goal, and you just had to have a stepping stone prior to the PBA?
Well, the PBA, I knew about it, but I didn't really like look at it too much. Growing up, I always saw the NBA, and I was like, man, if I don't get there, like that's it, And so I didn't really think that this was going to be my end goal. And then, like I said, my brother, he was like, hey, just give it a shot. Working kind of sucks. So don't buy into that yet. Like, see what you got here. Try to ride that out. Have as much fun as you can. And when you're done, you can work again, So, I mean, I just saw how far this basketball could take me, and now I'm here.
Quite interestingly, that both of you applied for the NBA draft. Matt, you applied in is it 2014, and you went undrafted? Was that also part of the plan before the PBA?
Well, I think I didn't technically put my name in the draft. I think all college seniors automatically their names get entered into the draft. So that was kind of like but I did try out for the Boston Celtics D-League team at the time, which was called the Maine Red Claws. And, they're offering a contract that wasn't a lot of money, be a third string shooting guard.
Yeah.
So, like what Mo said, growing up, it was the NBA. It was the NBA or bust. You didn't really know about leagues back then. You didn't really know about Europe. You didn't know there was leagues in Asia and China. I didn't realize that there was a PBA until maybe like 14, 15, when my uncle told me that, hey, you could just go to the PBA and play as long as you want. So I came to the PBA really knowing maybe a handful of players, like the marquee guys, Jumar, Jason Castro, Terrence. So coming to the PBA was like a complete shock.
Wow, that's interesting to hear. And we'll talk about that. But let me ask first about your experience in the ABL. How big did the ABL play in your career? I mean, how big of a help was it for you, Matt, when you were beginning your career in basketball?
The ABL was huge for me. I came off of a disappointing year in Europe. I wanted to get back on my feet, get my confidence back. Coach Ariel offered me a position where I was able to just play my game, just go out there and just shoot. And it worked out for us. The ABL was a big stepping stone. I learned how to be a consummate professional. Just minor things. Being my second team. That was my second year pro. So just a big learning curve. Also, traveling all over Asia. That was an interesting part too. It's like every game, it's like, country versus country. So the passion and the competitiveness, the rivalries that Malaysia and Singapore had, I had no idea how big of a rivalry that it was, but it's like our boss told us, we can lose every single game, but we cannot lose to Singapore. It's just like a political, historic rivalry that they've had for years. So, and Mo too. And just going into hostile environments like Saigon, those Vietnam crowds is crazy. People don't even realize, and it was just a great atmosphere to be in. Just like to represent a country going against another country, home and away atmosphere. It was unbelievable.
Mo, was it strange that you are Filipino and you're playing for Malaysia against the Philippines? Didn't you consider, if you did take that route, play for a Philippine team?
Well, I was coming out of college, and when you're coming out of college, you have like this loyalty. At least for myself, I felt loyal to Coach AV. He found me and he wanted me to play for him, and no one else really gave me a shot. I didn't really have much coming down the line. So, yeah, Coach AB, he's like, hey, come try, come play, and see if you like it. If you don't, no big deal. Go back home. And I had a job, but so playing for Malaysia, it was fun. I did see the Philippine team, and I was like, man, I want to play for them, but being in Malaysia, because I've come to Philippines like 100 times before, so I knew what they had to offer here and what it was like, and I wanted to travel. So being in Malaysia, it was a different look, and that's also why I like the ABL, because I got to move around a little.
Yeah, well, that's part of the format. That's part of the culture of the ABL. I think it's really the traveling, and you've got to like that to be able to stay. And talking about staying in the ABL, did you entertain any thoughts about staying longer than you actually did with Westport's Malaysia Dragons, Mo?
Yeah, like I said, like I had my loyalty. Like I really like the teammates, and I'm sure Matt would agree with you. Like the guys there, they're awesome. It felt like college again. Like I felt like teammates. Like we'd hang out after practice. We'd come over to each other's house, go out together. And it was fun. I enjoyed being around these guys, and it didn't feel like business. It didn't feel like work. It felt like I was just playing with my friends again, and that's what really brought that spark back into me. Because after college, I had like a little like I said, I had to try out with in D League, and then that's when I found out it's more business. Like the guy next to me wants me to do bad, and so he can shine more, And when I went to Malaysia, I felt like I was on a team again. Like I had people that were looking out for me, as opposed to, if I do bad, they're going to look better, so they get more whatever, And that's why I liked it, and I did want to continue, but I started getting pulled over this way, so now I'm here.
Well, Matt, you brought the championship to Malaysia in 2016. You were voted as an MVP in that season. Didn't that convince you to give it one more year?
The plan actually was to stay another year with Jason and Coach Ariel, and because, like Mo said, I didn't want to go into the D League. I didn't want to do the whole PBA D League. I heard a lot of stories about it, and I just felt like it wasn't for me. I didn't want to go if I didn't have to. I didn't want to go, but there was a loophole at the time where it's like you had to be 26 years or older in order to bypass that. So I was willing to stay another year in the ABL, so that by the time I was finished, I could just go straight into the PBA. But as you know, there was that special draft, that Gilas draft that I was a part of, that was able to, it worked out in my benefit at least. I was able to bypass the D League, and I was able to get drafted and be in the PBA. So, yeah, that 2016 draft class was a huge help in getting me into the PBA. So, yeah.
When you talk about your moves, the things that you've done, and of course you've played in both leagues now. Describe to us the difference between playing in the ABL as compared to how it is now playing, of course, in the PBA. In terms of, I guess, the playing style, as well as the demand on a player. Matt?
Well, the PBA is a higher caliber. It's still, I feel like it was better competition in the PBA still. Better athletes, better imports. It was just a notch higher, I feel like. But the ABL did prepare me for the PBA. I was able to play against Filipino teams, MX3 at the time, and just playing against other, ASEAN imports, and just getting a gauge of what Asian basketball is like. It's kind of similar to the PBA in terms of the undersized guards, but they're quick, they're skilled, they can dribble, they can shoot, they can pass. So yeah, it was a good precursor for the PBA.
Mo, you played against huge players in the ABL. We know that there are multiple imports that a team can bring in. So was that something that you cherished, or you did not? Considering that in the PBA you are perhaps one of the biggest playing in the All Filipino, of course.
Yeah.
So did the ABL prepare you enough for the PBA, and how do you describe the comparison between the two leagues?
Just to quote on that again, the level of play, it changes a little bit when going from ABL to PBA. You have bigger players coming in. in PBA and quicker, faster, stronger. But ABL was a good stepping stone for me. Like, because I mean, for me, every league that I've played in so far, I'm always guarding an import. So in terms of like the locals, I didn't really see like a difference there because I'm not face to face with them. But it's always the imports that I'm guarding, and it did just like increase a little more when I got to PBA. ABL, like I don't really want to say the imports were one dimensional. Like if it was a post player, he was just going to be in the post. If he's, they had specific roles. And coming into PBA, they're different players just all around. Like they kind of float everywhere. They'll be outside, inside, and that helped me. My knees didn't really appreciate it too much because I'm getting old, man. They start to hurt now. It's catching up, but it was definitely it was a stepping stone, and it helped me understand what I was up against and to level up.
When you look back at your days in the ABL, what was the best part for you, Mo?
Man, it was playing in front of your crowd, man. Because like here, you don't really have a home crowd, you don't really have an away team, and going into different crowds and carrying that your country's, the team you're playing for, that flag, you really got to represent, and it just made it fun. It made something like to fight for. It felt like you brought something back home for the teams every time, and it just made you want to play harder. So, yeah.
Matt, best part about playing in the ABL?
Traveling. You get to. I was able to go to Bangkok 4 times in 1 year. I was able to go to Singapore 3 times. You know what I mean? Philippines 3 times. I was able to go visit my family. In Tarlac. Just see different parts of Southeast Asia. It's beautiful, all of it, and places that I would have never ever been to had I not played basketball. And also just developing the bonds and the friendships. Mo knows the Malaysian locals. They may not be the best basketball players, but they're great guys. Every single one of them are stand-up guys. They will go out of their way to make you feel like you're part of the team. These guys will come into my door, with gift baskets and stuff like that. Just making very hospitable guys. And in a job in a work environment where it's all competition, and sometimes there is some backstabbing, sometimes there is some evil eye, guys hoping that you do, everyone wants you to do well, but not as well as them, or not better than them. And that's always kind of been like the atmosphere of basketball, especially if you're an import, which Mo and I were in the ABL. So just going back to like that college atmosphere where everybody's on the same page, everyone's just rooting for each other and behind each other. It was exactly like college. It was exactly what I needed.
Well, I remember the Westport's Malaysia Dragons home court, because when I was handling the SMB team, that was a difficult place to play in. That was loud and rowdy and wild, and it really felt like a home court for you guys. So obviously the team ownership was terrific also down there. But let me ask you, now that I mentioned about what has happened in the ABL, they've canceled the season. Of course, there is news that they may resume next year. But your thoughts about the sustainability of a league like the ABL? How do you think can a league like the ABL continue? Do you think that there will be more interest now coming from maybe Asians playing in their home teams? Matt?
I mean, with this whole pandemic situation, I feel like this is very unprecedented. No one really knows how to handle this and what to do. The ABL obviously took a hit for obvious reasons. They rely on AirAsia and flights to travel. Everything has to be through the air, so that's obviously going to affect business. I just hope that imports don't have that stigma like coming to Asia, because there's a lot of money to be made for imports to go to Asia. I feel like Asia is a bigger market now than Europe is, or a better market at least. But with this whole pandemic situation, maybe it might deter some people from coming to those countries. Especially teams like Hong Kong and there's another team out of China that's in the
Taiwan
as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it might affect them. I hope it doesn't, because the league was on the up and up. I felt like the league was just getting better and better every year. More money was getting put in. Some good quality players, some good imports were coming. So I feel like they're just getting started, and then this whole thing hit. It's unfortunate, but it's like I said, these are unprecedented times. No one really knows, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Hopefully, they can get back on their feet, and there'll be basketball being played in the ABL again.
Would you consider, Mo, the ABL to be a rival league of the PBA?
I don't know, man. It's definitely different types of leagues. One's really like travel and getting around, and it's like country versus country. And PBA, it's like stuff versus stuff. So I don't know if that's how you want to explain, but I don't know if rival. I don't know if that's a word I'd use, but at the end of the day, it's all entertainment. Yeah, it's different. Yeah. It's just all entertainment for people, man.
All right. Well, let's go to the PBA. Talking about the PBA, obviously now everyone is hoping and praying that we can restart the league. Do you believe, Mo, that the league is doing enough to get to the point where we can begin again a new or resume the season? Are you happy with all of the things that are going on first with the league as we try to restart it again?
Yeah, I got a new family now, so I always got to make sure I'm taking care of them, and I feel like the PBA is doing what they can as best as they can to make sure we're all safe, and that's the bottom line here. And as far as I can see, I don't know about the rest of the teams, but here on San Miguel, they're really taking care of us, making sure we go through all of our protocol, make sure everyone's safe, and we're not really making this problem worse, and we're trying to fix it, So I think they're doing enough, and I'm sure that if anything is to go wrong, they're going to continue to fix it and make it better, because we don't know how to. There's not a fix to it right now, but we're trying our best to make sure it works, and I like what I see so far.
Matt, level of confidence in terms of the safety and health protocols that are being implemented by the PBA. Do you feel safe enough to go back and play?
I'm on the same boat with Mo. I have an infant too, 10-month-old, so I have to take extra precautionary measures in terms of safety protocols and stuff like that. So the PBA has they've done the best job they could possibly do. They're on top of things. They suspended my coach for violating health protocols. So that just shows like how serious they are. And I'm glad that they're taking this seriously, and they're not going to have any pushback or anything like that. So they're doing as best they can, and I do feel safe, and I do feel confident that we will start soon. I hope we do. But
are you
feel confident about it?
Are you interested in?
Alright mga kaibigan, yan po ang isang parte ng ating panayam kay Mo Tautuaa at Matthew Wright. Susubukan nating ibalik po yung second part niyang or tapusin yung panayam na yan next week kasi medyo naubusan tayo ng oras ngayong linggong ito ha. Kaya marami pa pong nasabi doon ng dalawa nating mga paboritong manlalaro ng PBA at babalik po natin sila next week. Again, maraming salamat Mo Tautuaa and Matthew Wright. Doon po sa mga nag-aabang sa NBA, yung second feature ngayong araw pong ito, laban ng, ito yung Game 1, Los Angeles Lakers kontra Houston Rockets ng Western Conference Semifinals. Lumalamang po sa kasalukuyan ang Houston sa score na 39-36 ata. Yan po ang, 41-36. Mukhang yan ang score ngayon at meron na lang ilang oras na nalalabing. 41-37, sorry. 8 minutes and a half remaining sa second quarter. So abangan nyo po yan. Nasa Signal TV yan. Panoorin natin. Yan pong NBA. Naku, napakaganda talaga ng laban na yan. Again, kanina nanalo ang Miami Heat kontra Milwaukee Bucks. At ang number 1 seed na Milwaukee Bucks ay nasa dilikadingding na. Mukhang, kumbaga, nasa emergency room na at naghihingalo. Wala pa pong nakakabalik sa 0-3 na deficit sa isang best of 7 series sa kasaysayan ng NBA. Ang record dyan, 0 out of 139. Yan ang nabasa natin kanina. So, itong si Giannis Antetokounmpo na maaaring maging MVP, susunod na MVP muli ng NBA, mukhang nag-iisip na yan dahil mag-expire na ang kontrata niyan sa Milwaukee. Hindi siya makapasok-pasok sa NBA Finals kahit na napakaganda ng kanyang paglalaro. By the way, bago tayo magtapos, meron lang po tayong isa pang dagdag na pulso na pinadala po sa atin ng ating kaibigan si Jeffrey Beboso from Cadiz City, Negros Occidental. Sabi niya, dapat dyan patawan ng kaparusahan ang mga nasangkot na team, isuspend lahat ng taong kabilang sa team. Yan lang po, sabi ni Jeffrey Beboso. Maraming salamat, Jeffrey, at sa lahat po ng mga nagpadala ng kanilang mga opinion tungkol sa ating pulso ng bayan. Alright! Well, mga kaibigan, again, nagtatapos na naman po ang isa na namang edisyon ng Power and Play ngayong Sabado ng umaga. Again, ingat po tayong lahat. Patuloy po tayo maging mamasid sa ating mga kapaligiran. Mag-ingat, maghugas ng kamay, maglagay ng face mask, protective face shield, and of course, social distancing. Lagi nating sinasabi tuwing Sabado, bawal po ang masungit. Relax lang. And of course, lahat po ng ating gawain, ad maiorem Dei gloriam, all for the greater glory of God. Happy Sports Weekend, mga kapatid!